Ladies and gentlemen, live on this Thursday, we have, a wonderful guest, Brandon Cohan from the office out there in lovely Northwest, for Berkshire Hathaway. And he's kind of new to the party too, but welcome, Brandon. He comes to us from another, no names mentioned, Keller Williams, brand that's out there. Brandon, tell them a little about yourself, how long you've been doing this, and all that good stuff, please.
So Brandon Cohan, been in real estate for 17 years, spent the last 14 with a different company. I won't name names, but it starts with Keller, ends with Williams. The last 7 of which I've been in various leadership positions, anywhere from coach, trainer, assistant team leader, recruiter, what have you.
Right. Yeah. No, a great brand. One of my good friends, Chris Heller, was he was actually chairman for a while, and then he was CEO, and then he was co-chairman with someone else for a while, and now he's off doing something different. But he was a dynamite agent in San Diego, gone, CEO. You know Gary. I've met Gary at Mike Ferry events early on. Great company. But we kind of think the Berkshire Hathaway brand is the best brand in real estate. So, and I know that you feel the same way now too. So it's a little different, right? Keller Williams has a lot of great stuff. We have a lot of great stuff, but I think from a per person production, the Berkshire Hathaway name is tough to beat. We do have the most transactions in real estate, so it's kind of proof is in the pudding.
Yep.
Right. So,
absolutely.
And I know that I coach agents in your office, and they're saying great things about you, and I know your recruiting skills are great. So tell us a little bit about how your journey has been since you've been here.
Well, you know what? It's anytime that you're in a place for as long as I was with KW, right? The change is always difficult, right? I knew all the systems. I knew everything that the previous company had, and walking into a completely brand new scenario is always a little off-putting. The agents have all been fantastic. They say really nice things about me, mostly because I've been paying them on the side.
Good for you.
They're all great. They've been so open and accepting, and just a lot of fun. So it's been an interesting it'll be 5 months in about a week and a half. So it's been an interesting 5 months, and I feel like I'm finally kind of getting my feet under me and actually figuring out the vast majority, not all, but the vast majority of what Berkshire actually has to offer.
Well, as I told Mark Jones, you know who I'm talking about.
Yep.
If Mark Jones likes you right from the beginning, you're doing something right, because he's the most brutally honest, and I'm being kind, person I think I've ever met.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that one.
Yeah. He's hilarious. All right, and he does a lot of business too, and he puts deals together like no human could do.
Yeah. No, he's a pit man. There's no doubt about it.
He is something. All right. So let's get into it. Okay. So now you've been doing this. You've been, like you said, 17 years. You've had various jobs, including real estate agent and management and recruiting and team lead and so forth. So in your journeys in real estate, what do you think? Like, what makes what makes an agent successful? Give us a couple tidbits. What you would consider the most important things if you're going to be successful in this business.
Man, honestly, what I typically end up saying in this one is the one thing that sets a super successful agent apart from everyone else is their willingness to easiest way I know to say it is to be shameless. They will tout themselves at any given opportunity. And they walk into a room, and in most cases, if there's 50 people in there, they have 50 brand new friends.
Right.
Not to say that you have to have an outgoing personality to be super successful in real estate. There's absolutely people who operate from a high C personality that are super successful. You have to design the business to suit you. But it's that willingness to just put yourself out there and be uncomfortable, and the willingness to fail forward, because you walk into this thing and nobody was born a realtor. You don't know what you're doing in most cases until you actually put yourself forward and figure it out as you go.
Yeah, I would agree. So like when you say shameless, you're talking about not be afraid to say hi and be rejected, or prospect and be rejected. You also have to be a little bit of a shameless plug for yourself as well, right? Where you got to tell, why would you use me? I mean, people say, why would I use you, Brandon, to sell my home, right? And you have to be able to, without sounding too egotistical, be able to project that.
Correct. It's a fine line between um, being outgoing and willing to put yourself out there and plug yourself and not be salesy and
Right.
still be approachable and not be egotistical and not be arrogant and not be all of these things, um, and coming from a place of service. But yeah, most people, they don't operate that way. They
No,
don't walk into that room and they're like, I'm going to talk to everybody in here,
right. I'm going to make a friend
myself
with
included.
everybody.
Myself included.
Yeah. No, it takes practice. Some people, I love when people say, well, you're a natural. Because when you say that, right, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you say you're a natural, you give your brain, permission to do nothing. Because you know what, if I was a natural like Brandon, I would do what he's doing too. But since I can't be like that, I'm just going, right? That's that self-talk we all have. Everybody you see that you think is a natural has practiced, drilled, rehearsed. NBA players, actors, actresses. No one's an overnight success.
No, all of sales is a learned skill set, right?
Right.
Um, I was joking around with someone recently where they said, "Well, you're a total extrovert." I said, "No, I'm actually quite the opposite. I'm an introvert. It, it it requires energy for me to go out and be outgoing and coaching agents and be on all the time. Um, but I enjoy it, but it doesn't build me up nearly as much as other things may.
Right.
So it's a learning skill set. I mean, I like getting. Let's face certain facts. I mean, I'm one of those crazy kind of guys who actually likes food with his meals. So I have to somehow have money come in, man.
Wait a
So
minute,
I
you like
learned a
food
long
with your
time ago.
meals?
Yeah, I'm funny that way. So
That's funny.
in sales, you have two options. You can either talk to people or not. Well, when you don't talk to people, it doesn't pay very well. So
It's funny you say that because I was playing golf this weekend with a guy who is. Let's just put it this way. We're trying to recruit each other. Okay. So, but mostly I'm trying to recruit him. And here's what he said. He used to actually he used to be in Jersey Boys, the early version, and then.
okay,
So it's really funny because we ended up talking. He was at my women's council little presentation I did on the 29th. But anyway, my point is, here's what he said to me. He said, Rick, actors, actresses, performers make the best realtors early on because they're used to not getting paid.
I can
And
see
they
that.
learn how to get by until they start getting paid. And I was like, that's an interesting way to look at it. But you could, right? You could come out of the gate relatively hot in this business and start doing business if you have the ability to flush your ego and, like you said, be a little shameless, not worry about how you look, put the ego in the back seat, get a little uncomfortable, make mistakes, try it again, and keep going every day. That's the key.
Well, let's face certain facts, Rick. I mean, every person on earth wants two things.
Yep.
They want to look good and they want to be right.
Right.
And when you don't know what you're doing, it's really hard. It goes against the grain to do that because you're not going to look good and you're not going to be right.
Right.
So to be that person who's willing to set that aside and go, you know what? I know I'm not going to look good. I know I'm not going to be right, and I'm going to do it anyway. Kudos to the new agents. I mean, for doing that.
Yeah. That's why I always wear a suit because you already look good, and then people just assume you're right.
Right. Okay, fair enough. Fair
Right,
enough.
Paul? Paul knows this. No, I'm just giving you a hard time. No, I agree with you 100%, and I think that I think if people just realize, practice, drill, rehearse, create new habits, right? Because, like you said, as a person who comes across extroverted, and I'm going to tell you something, I'm the same way. People think that I actually am the most social introvert known to man. I could be on an island by myself and be perfectly happy for months, right? At the same time, I enjoy being around people and speaking in front of people. People think now that it comes naturally to me. No, it used to make me incredibly nervous. And I think it's really good that I used to play in a top 40 rock band when I was younger because it got me used to being in front of people, right? And then, right, so it took a long process to me to be comfortable in front of people. I used to go on listening presentations in my 20s with a jacket on. I would leave soaking wet under the jacket because I was so nervous, right? So this is something, if it's important enough to you, you will put the time in, right?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, so shameless is one of them, and I love that too. What else? Anything else you can think of as far as like traits of a top producer or one? Because remember, unlike playing in the NBA or you don't have to be a certain height, color, sex, size.
No.
Anybody can develop these traits that you need to be a successful agent, right?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. It's consistency and persistency, right? It's lead generation and lead conversion. At the end of the day, sales is a numbers game. So easiest way I know to say it, man. If I ask enough girls to dance, dude, I'll dance.
Somebody's going to
So
say,
if I'm not dancing, there's only one real fix to this one. So I get to go out and talk to more girls.
that's right.
Um, so the same thing can be said with real estate. It's a matter of, are you putting in the practice? Are you to know what to say, um, and that way the game slows down is
Mm,
the best way I know to say it. In the beginning, most brand new agents are just regurgitating information onto a person, and then waiting for their mouth to stop, and then they
right.
start talking again.
Right. Yeah. And they're not
Eventually,
listening, is what you're saying. Yes.
no, they're thinking about what I need to say next.
Which is
Instead, eventually, it all becomes ingrained, and you've had the conversation so many times that you no longer have to worry about what the person is saying, or think about what I need to say next. You can just actually listen to the person and go, okay, Rick asked me this. Here's my answer.
right. No, I agree. But you said it earlier, when you come from service, you're listening. You're asking questions. You're not pushing, prompting, making statements. A lot of agents make statements, or they make statements. They actually just ask questions that are really disguised as statements. When you're asking true questions, right? And I feel compelled to mention that Drew, one of your dynamite young agents there, keeps giving us love, and two guys are great. Good morning, everybody. Drew Trent Hell from your office. He's awesome.
Thanks,
He's a
Drew.
perfect example because when he came into the business, right? It's funny because we were just talking about him yesterday on our call, weren't we?
Yep.
He's the perfect example. Came in, was a little uncomfortable, did things that made him uncomfortable. Like I went door knocking with him and about 10 other agents from your office, and I think he set a couple appointments that day too. So, but he wasn't comfortable at first.
Well, the first time you're doing something, it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Jordan didn't walk onto a basketball court the first time and was the Michael Jordan that we know of today. Tiger Woods didn't just step on a golf course and crush it. I mean, it takes practice, and you can practice during game time or you can practice during practice. Pick.
Right. No, it's funny. People don't know that actually Michael Jordan was cut his junior year from his high school team,
Yeah.
and when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, the teacher that cut him, he bought him a ticket to the induction, put him right in front of him, and every time he does something, he brings that teacher to remind him he made a mistake cutting him in a nice way. But can you imagine Michael Jordan? If you've never listened to anything about Michael Jordan or what, talk about competitive. Wow. Takes it to a whole new level. Tom Brady's the same way too. But see, the thing about real estate is you don't have to be that competitive. You don't have to be that crazy because you're in a business surrounded by people who aren't going to do the things that you should do. And if you do them, you stand out. Right?
Agreed. Yeah, it doesn't take a whole lot to actually stand out in the crowd because the vast majority of agents, let's face certain facts, um, they don't take what they do for a living very serious, or they don't do it full time. They do this
Right.
part time. So you do the right things. You actually follow up with your people. You actually care about people, and amazing things happen. Um,
Yeah.
I like to say, universe rewards good behavior.
Yeah. It really does. There's a karmic response to everything you're doing, good or bad. And if you have the right intentions and you're doing this because you actually do want to help people, I mean, making money is great too. But if all you want to do is make money, you come across with commission breath.
True.
It's stinky, it's smelly, and everybody can recognize it. But when you really have people's intentions, good intentions in mind, like you help people move from A to Z. When I got in the business, I was 19. I was like, this is the most incredible business in the world because when I started, they called it the American dream, home ownership. You don't hear it called that much anymore, which is kind of sad, and it really is. Most valuable asset most people own, raise their family there, get married there, then they sell, right? It's a pretty big deal. And
For
if you
sure.
actually are interested in that deal, your clients, you'll do a lot of business.
Yeah. Agreed. Easiest. So one of the ways I always thought about it was the family is inviting me to be part of their family for the next 30 to 60 days.
That's a great
And
idea.
that's an honor and a privilege. And I don't want to let them down.
I love that. I love that. That's a great way to look at it because it's really true. And you know what? If you one another reason why you should get a buyer broker agreement signed if it's a buyer too.
True.
Oh, it's so true. I can't imagine today when people tell me, no, 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 I don't use that. I'm like, why would you not use that? It's my little pet peeve, the buyer agency agreement. It's just crazy
Yeah.
that something.
Well, short answer is they don't know how,
Right.
and nobody uses them until they get burned that one time and $1 million buyer walks into an open house,
Yeah.
and they lose that $30,000 commission. Then all of a sudden they start asking, well, so you mentioned this buyer consultation thing.
Right.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about that.
And I've never heard an agent say, I made a mistake. Here's how they describe that same situation. You're not going to believe what my buyers did to me. I'm like, wait a minute. First off, they're not your buyers because you don't have a signed contract. So this is look in the mirror. That's who did it to you. And it's avoidable. So, yes,
Yeah.
I agreed. All right, my man, we're almost at time here. Any final words you want to leave these lovely people?
You know what? Obviously, the 800-pound gorilla in the room is the fact that the market is shifting.
Mm,
The key to any shifting market is to continue to lead generate and find the motivated. Um, there are still people that are looking to buy. There are still people looking to sell, and it's still a great time, historically speaking, to do both. Um, so listen to your people, find out what they really need and what they really want, and then help them get that.
yeah, and I think I agree with you 100%. I agree that this is the time where the skilled agent is going to shine because the commission cutting and they're going to look at you because what in Phoenix your inventory has what tripled in the last 9 months,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, tripled. That's amazing. Now it's still well below the level of is it a seller's market or a buyer's market? It's still a seller's market, or as Forrest calls it, seller's advantage.
Yeah,
Right?
it's become it's almost even up at this point. It's
Yeah,
getting
I
real
agree with
close
you.
on it. But at the same, again, sellers can still sell their house and they don't have to give them away. Buyers can have a little bit more of an ability to negotiate in this market and find the house that they're looking for. They don't have to put in an offer the first 8 seconds that they've been in the house. Um, so this is a fun market. It's just comparatively speaking, when a house would sell in 14 offers in 2 hours,
Right.
it's different. So we all get to learn that, okay, it's not that anymore. Yesterday's price is not today's price, both good and bad, and let's go to work.
Right. No, so true. And the skilled agent that has a presentation that has a great brand, okay, we'll do a bunch of business because the answer still is get inventory. Get inventory. Uh,
Well, Rick, let's face certain facts. I mean, the
yep.
skilled agent, regardless of the market, is always going to do well.
Right.
And agents historically, right, they're always looking for the new, when in reality, the old tried and true methods will always work. This is a relationship business. Get into relationship with other agents, number one, with your buyers, with your sellers, and maintain those relationships forever.
I agree. Just like all the new bells and whistles really just allow you more opportunities to do it the old fashioned way, which is relationships, ask questions, really care about your clients. It just gives you more opportunities with all these new things. It doesn't like you're not going to just do a deal from social media. You eventually have to talk to them, show them you're a listener, and you can do it. So you still have to apply for the job and do all that live stuff. It just allows you more opportunities. But ultimately, the foundational stuff and it will probably never change. That's why the internet hasn't replaced us, right? Because you need that human touch.
Well, again, the best way I've ever heard it, Rick, is this: the further that you get from face to face or voice to voice, the more expensive and the less effective. So if you want to spend more money and do less business, then move away from face to face or voice to voice. Um, it just is what it is.
I agree with that. That's why a lot of these other companies that that are more into that than what we're talking about are having a little bit of a hard time now, because the volume has slowed down, and then you have to be good at communicating and having relationships, which not everybody's good at, let's face it.
True. True statement, man.
Well, Brandon, I am so glad you chose to come to Berkshire Hathaway here in the Northwest office of Arizona. We really enjoy having you here. I hope to have a long one, successful career together, my man. Thank you for coming, and thank you for being on the show today.
Have an amazing day, guys. Thank you so much.
You too. Thanks, Brandon.
Bye.